Hello, everyone. Me and Silas Speaks here, Silas Gauthier, are going to go through our a bit deeper analysis of what we found in Joker 2. He watched the movie the past weekend, and he's got a lot to say. Will it become an article, or is it already an article, Silas?
I may write it as an article. There's actually quite a lot to go through with this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and whenever I do decodes of things, for example, even Bowie's Black Star, I'm only about 2 minutes through it, and I think I've already got 40 pages of writing on it. So to go through this, I would have to omit quite a great degree of the symbolism present within it. But yeah, we'll discuss the main topics I think
Mm-hmm.
the film's pointing to in this discussion at least.
Yes. Well, this conversation will be put as a sort of addendum or an extra, let's say, to the previous notes I've already showed to Tim Osman, although back then was mainly related to predictive programming, because that was the theme, let's say, that I was taking notes on. But here we'll go into different fields. And, well, first of all, I think that the initial cartoon sequence that the movie begins with is entirely revealing of the whole setting. Because in that cartoon sequence, you see that the Joker is literally, in the cartoon, Arthur's shadow, right? So he is visibly depicted as the shadow, even a shadow reflected by the spotlight on the stage, right? And when he feels that Arthur is going to be threatened by the interveners there, especially the police, the Joker personality, so the shadow personality, goes into Arthur, takes him over to protect. I think that is the idea, to protect. That is the whole basis of the film, to protect Arthur, true self, let's say, from the trauma and the harm that he's about to suffer, because then the ending of that cartoon sequence is basically the police beating him up on the ground, and the screen goes red with blood, right? So that I think sets the tone of the movie, and it says everything that has to be said about the premise of the Joker personality versus the Arthur Fleck, very shy, very timid, and unable to even cope with himself, much less the world, right? And that is because, again, we go into the topic of rejection, because Arthur lived a life of trauma and rejection. He was rejected for several situations. He had mental problems. He thought he was supposed to be funny, in the sense of, being an entertainer, and he wasn't funny. We saw that in the first movie. And so everyone sort of made fun of him. He was very clumsy as well. He to be able to protect himself from that, the Joker personality, the shadow personality, would take him over. And I think that he usually, for the longest part during the second movie, gave in entirely to that personality. Salas, let's start there, but then we can develop.
Yeah, I think you're right regarding the Joker's shadow right at the beginning, and it provides really a synopsis,
Mm-hmm.
a recap of the story before the story has actually obviously occurred. Just some things to mention as well regarding rejection.
Mm-hmm.
When he breaks out of the closet or the cupboard, he obviously is completely, well, he's not completely naked, but he's he's in his drawers and vest. His shadow has stolen his clothes. He wears the outfit of Arthur, or the persona that he's creating anyway, and he becomes almost the hyperbolic exaggeration of that persona of the fool or the Joker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then Arthur obviously goes out on stage and they have a fight, and he is fighting with the shadow to reintegrate it, reabsorb it. And then right at the end comes out the three police officers, and obviously they beat him to death, right?
Yeah.
I believe they beat his head, so they bludgeon his head. That's the primary thing. And they kill him that way.
Yes, while he's on the ground, facing down. Yes, which is
Exactly.
an image that has a lot of correlations to media, psyops, and so on. I would say, in regards to what you just presented, that I think that the clothes. So Arthur does appear in sort of his underwear in that cartoon sequence. But I think that the clothes worn by the shadow are part of the shadow. And I think that when, even in the first movie, when Arthur first wears that entire outfit is when he is already in a state of giving in to that shadow personality. So I think that one does not go without the other. That said, what I mean is, you would not have the Joker per se coming out in Arthur's mind without the outfit. And I think that is seen later on with that visit from Harley Quinn, the Lady Gaga character, that she visits him in his cell and then they have sex. And he's about to engage and she says, "No, wait. You have to put on the makeup." Of course, there's no time to wear the suit, and probably she didn't have the suit. But the symbolism there was no. I'm going to have sex with Joker, not with Arthur, right? So I think that the makeup and the outfit, in my opinion, at least that's the way I read it, were already integral part of the Joker personality. Did I see it wrong? What do you think?
No, that's correct. And just something to add to that. You see right at the beginning the Joker's shadow. This I thought was very potent, and it's in regards to what you just stated there, quite rightly. It's this seeming understanding that it's almost because of the trauma that he has undergone from the very earliest stages of his childhood, his development. And again, this is beyond just Arthur's story or the Joker's story. This is speaking to something of a far more Gnostic quality and cosmological quality. But with the Joker being used, the Joker's shadow as opposed to Arthur's shadow, it's already stated that the Joker has precedence, he has preeminence over Arthur. That Arthur perhaps is a shadow of the Joker. Arthur is the first of the shadows. Arthur himself, before the Joker was formed, was a product of his trauma. That the Joker, of course, as well, is a product of his trauma. It's a shadow of it. But Arthur is inseparable from the shadow. Mm-hmm. Because of the trauma, nothing really remains of Arthur. So the Joker is the actual object, is the light, if you will, is the object by which the shadow is cast off of, which is Arthur. So that, I think that's made abundantly clear just with that wording, the Joker's shadow as opposed to Arthur's shadow. And interestingly as well, we see fast forward into the end. No spoilers here. We see that.
No, spoil it, Will. Come on. If people haven't watched it, don't listen to this.
That right at the end where the psychopath stabs him, I think it's a total of 7 times actually, in the stomach, the root chakra.
I didn't count. Yeah.
Then he falls over and he hits his head. Again, this is all a sort of repeat of the 3rd degree rite, in which the initiate becomes Hiram Abiff and takes on that, the effigy of Hiram Abiff as well. And then he dies. And of course he leaves the blood-stained smear of his, his pentacle, his the form of man. But interestingly, the psychopath, I think, is a symbol of the intellect. So throughout it, you see that he stabs him in, so his body bleeds, the root chakra. The psychopath, the intellect, stabs the body, kills the body, and then, because the body is essentially gone, he then goes over to the side. I believe he hits, it's either his left or right, I think it's his right side actually, and his right temporal lobe, and then obviously that symbolises his spirit, and then he dies. So just like what we see, the 3 guards, it's always 3. We saw that as well when we went to Sintra. You have the compass. Well, you did have the cherubim carrying the compass, the square, and right in the centre, I believe, was the solar symbol. So it's this same notion, this same idea. What I think happened to Arthur is I think he reintegrated his spirit, reintegrated the shadow. He understood who he was, what this world was, but I don't believe that he could not come to terms with the world. Therefore, the tripartite essence that was him destroyed him. He went mad, and I think that's what his death in the end is symbolising. There's also what I believe is the final. It might be in the penultimate or the final song that's sung between Arthur and I think perhaps Lady Gaga's in that as well.
Gonna build me a mountain, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, but they discuss the darkness of the room. That once all, something like when all is said and done, all that is left is the darkness in the room, or something like that. It's the same idea. Essentially, it's denoting that Arthur has reintegrated that shadow, that he has essentially contracted back through a mini-death, back to the source of all. He's pierced that that veil and found the impenetrable darkness, the incomprehensible singularity of all things, and he understands the immanence of that within himself.
Yeah, I think that the Joker personality, and you're quite right in that observation. I think you're right. Is the original Arthur fallen? Since the original Arthur did not get the chance to manifest itself due to the trauma and all the situations, so it was not allowed to manifest itself. It was rejected. It went astray. In the same way that when we say about the potentials that aren't accepted and put in their right place, in this case due to external trauma, can often go astray until they're heard and acknowledged. And when Arthur in the courtroom, dressed as the Joker, acknowledges that he committed those crimes, that it was him, that everything was him, there was no one else to blame, he took responsibility. Now, this didn't avoid him from the ultimate fate of being killed, whether it would have been killed by being sentenced to death or in the way that it actually happened. He didn't avoid the death as a consequence, in the sense of taking responsibility for what he had done, the terrible things that he had done. Um, Justified or not, I mean, we can argue, if the bullies, if it was self-defense, etc. But that's beside the point. So he took responsibility for those killings, right? And when he did, he actually integrated the shadow. I agree. I don't think it's as simple as that in real life, but in the symbology of the movie, that's what happened. He took responsibility. When we see after he has that last conversation with Harley Quinn, when we do see again Arthur, he's already his initial fallen state of just waiting for whatever fate awaits him. So he's no longer even trying to summon that shadow or having any kind of connection to that shadow. And so I think this is not a certainty, but I even speculate that it is possible that when he was stopped by that other inmate that starts telling that joke, that he was somehow not aware, but somehow suspicious that there was something down that line that the other guy wanted. So to execute the final responsibility and at the same time release, because like he stated several times in the movie, his world is a misery, right? Because of all that trauma and etc. And since now he doesn't even have the Joker to cope with, the only fate that awaits him in the material life at that point was the ultimate departure as he was, as Arthur, but that is just speculation, that he was sort of.
No, I don't actually think it is speculation, because he even mentions in the courtroom that when he's he takes responsibility, like what you're saying, and then he states Joker is nothing.
Yeah.
And when he stated that was almost him gaining the gnosis. That was the literal moment of gnosis.
Yeah.
And then who departs the courtroom? Well, firstly, when she joined the courtroom, she wasn't in the sort of flamboyant, you could say more frenzied attire that she was at the end, Harley Quinn. And she's right at the back on the left-hand side of the square. Or sorry, on the right-hand side of the left square, because both,
right.
there's two sort of ranks, two
bench
squares.
rows.
Yeah. And then she moves to the front, which is the bottom left of that square, which is, I'm going to have to check I think it is hold on. My memory fails me here. Yes, that is entirely tied up with the World Tarot card. So she begins she begins at the Eagle, which I believe is I think that's Scorpio, and then
The Eagle is Scorpio. Yeah.
I believe, yes, and I think it's an ancient form of Scorpio. And then she moves, so she starts up there. That's right at the back, at the left hand side. Then she moves further down, further on in the movie, and she goes into Taurus, which is the bull. But also within the Hindu mythology, that is Yama. So she is the sort of symbol of the preservation of the duality of the world, of the paradoxical duality of the world, of the wheel. And what does Arthur do with stating that the Joker or the Fool is nothing? He breaks the cycle.
He's the zero, yes. The zero of the Arcana, yeah. And
Exactly.
Remember that in the her last appearance, she appears for the first time, I believe, if I remember correctly, dressed in red. So she would be the woman in red, the temptress,
Exactly.
the
Yes.
the fallen Magdalene, not the repentant one, or if you like, the whore of Babylon in Revelation, right?
Yeah.
So the woman in crimson. And I think it's more or less obvious. So this is not depicted in the movie, but it's sort of hinted that it's more or less obvious that she's the one that explodes the bomb, right?
Yeah.
Because when she leaves the room, it's just a minute later or something that the car bomb explodes. So she must have prepared that just in case. We're talking about the narrative of the movie, right? And when she sees that the Joker personality didn't stick, didn't actually take over, she decides to blow it up, to destroy the wall, right? There's a video that I am going to send you, and I'll post in the show notes as well, that my friend JM sent me, that has a lot of gematria connections. And I'm not very versed in gematria, to be honest. But apart from the gematria connections, and I would suggest that you watch it to the end, has the correlations between that are evident. Actually, it becomes evident once you watch it. The correlations between these two iterations. Of course, this video is based on Joker 1, but this is a continuation of the new Joker with the album The Wall by the Pink Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
The album, and of course, you know the movie, the cartoon movie that they made of The Wall.
Yes. I remember that.
Yeah, and so the similarities are incredible. And I think that there's something there, because if you note, the character in that album suffers from a similar situation than Arthur suffers, which is problems with his mother, right? Those problems make him build a wall around him, right?
Yes.
And even, try to cope with the world as best he can with all, even becoming comfortably numb, which Arthur becomes, for example. And at the end, the wall is torn apart in the movie, in the end of the album, right? The concept album. And this is what happens in the courtroom. And so I think that Harley Quinn is the one that tore down the wall, leaving Arthur defenseless in that sense. So leaving Arthur, that's symbology not just of blowing up the courtroom, but actually the wall that he built to safeguard that child, that traumatized child. Right? And so in the end, he's already defenseless. He's also abandoned by Harley Quinn. So he is integrated in the sense of, okay, I accept responsibility. I'm ready for whatever, right? The truth is better than this lie, and you're quite correct when he says Joker is nothing I did at all. He is actually putting the Joker in his right place. He is integrating that little kid that never had the chance to exist, to manifest, right?
There's also something to be mentioned regarding Harley Quinn herself, which the Harley Quinn, obviously found within pantomimes, which derives from the Greek pantomimos, which means the imitation of all, or the mimicry of all. And in that sense, with the Harley Quinn, I believe, I've actually written something on this.
Okay.
One of the new, it's a new book that I've nearly finished. It contains an esoteric breakdown of the Truman Show, Fight Club, Bowie's Black Star. But I went into the Harley Quinn and the Wild Hunt, and that myth, and I'll just mention this really quickly. So lastly, the Harlequin of the French and Norman accounts of the Wild Hunt myth from the Old English Herlakinning, or King Herla, or Dante Alighieri's demon Alicino, and that was linked to the Hari or Harai, of which Tacitus referred to as who fought at night, taking the appearance of an army of ghosts. The later Germanic tribe of the Heruli are also related to Herla. Of course, this is connected to the Fomorian. This is from the Irish annals,
yeah.
the Tuatha Dé Danann. Upon the first settlers of Ireland, the Fomorians being akin to the wild hunt, or that which permits us to go back to the void, if we have the courage to face that singularity of infinitude or the shadow. The Harlequin and the mask of the jester is also seen within I Pet Goat 2, and this Harlequin falls into the icy cold water right off the precipice of the glacier. Again, this is similar to what we're saying when you take that step where you understand that you know, the Joker, the fool is nothing, right? And you understand the true gnosis that's contained within that statement, then you essentially dispel of this shadow. You dispel of the crescent, if you will.
Yes.
Again, the Joker wore that crescent on his mouth.
Yes,
it
the
was
smile.
the logos, the voice, the smile. But the crescent is at both the beginning and the end of the lunar cycle. And of course the moon itself within Buddhism and every religion essentially is part of fertility. It is like the world tarot card. You draw a line between all of the the four royal stars. It appears, it lines up in the womb. That's the intercession point. All of that is linked to Mercury. It is linked to the womb. It's linked to the gateway to into oblivion, into this world, the spiritual involution, that idea. But it mentions, this is mirrored within Dante Alighieri's character of Alicino, or the Italian variant of Harlequin, within the Divine Comedy, and he chases in vain Giampolo of Navarre as he attempts to leap from the cliff and escape into the boiling sea of pitch. This is in the Divine Comedy. Alicino's failure to catch Giampolo causes him to come to blows with another demon, Cal Cabrina, of whom both fall into the boiling sea of pitch too. The boiling sea of pitch could be conceptualized as the abyss, and the descent into the turbulent waters of the material or deathly world. This is, in the language we're discussing now, this would be if you don't reintegrate that shadow. If you don't come to terms with that, you don't find a resolution, the middle point of temperance. However, the difference between the traditional Harlequin mask and that of the Harlequin we witness in I Pet Goat 2 is that the latter one has that of a sad face, which indicates potentially the end of the cycles or the end of days, the end of the epochal cycles, and this goes into all of that. But you see the same thing when he mentions Joker is nothing. She goes from a smile to a straight face. I think she becomes almost angry or sad, or those types of that type of face. But the Harlequin in the French counts as the leader of the wild hunt, or Mesne Heliquin, the retinue of Heliquin, as we have stated previously. And I don't believe I go into here. No, I do, but it's later on. I don't want to read through all of it here, but the wild hunt is essentially what happens right at the end, I believe, of that, where Arthur dies. He's murdered. I believe that is the wild hunt. That right at the end, the Mesne Heliquin, the Harlequin, the King Herla, also the Fomorians, they attack and consume you because you're not meant for this world anymore. I think I have another type of interpretation of the wild hunt in this, but I can't actually find it right now.
But just if I may, it reminds me of that quote by Meister Eckhart. That is included in Jacob's Ladder, where it says that the demons aren't actually killing you, they are removing the part of you that is still linked to the world so that you can pass on. And,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, the several aspects and the correlations of Harley Quinn, she would then be Morrigan, wouldn't she?
I actually go into that.
Oh, right.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because she is also, when she wears the black and white checkered thing, and even her eyes are in that sort of makeup. It's like the wings of a crow, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's also linked to Hecate, which is
Right.
the three-faced goddess of the underworld. I think it's primarily in Latin mythology. I think it appears in Greek as well. I'm not sure. I can't remember precisely now.
Mm-hmm.
But that also links with Pashupati, and we were discussing the World Tarot card. Those 4 royal stars also appear within Hinduism as if I have it here. I think I do. No, I don't. Yes, it's Kubara, Yama, and there's another 2, but they all link with that Pashupati seal. Pashupati has 3 faces as well. We saw again, as we were mentioning, the 3 guards at the beginning, right?
Right.
But I believe Morrigan
has 3 daughters. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And also as well, I believe she also is if I recall, she is I believe she...
Three-faced, yes. She's...
No, but oh no, here we go. The Sluach Namarv, the host of the dead, which is similar to the Wild Hunt in our Irish mythology. I think she heads that.
Yes. The Phantom Army or whatever. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
She does head that. Right. Okay, I'm correct there. Was headed. So it was also headed by Hecate in the Latin tradition. Gwyn ap Nudd, or Gwyn ap Nudd. I don't know Welsh, but that's in the Welsh mythology, Brythonic mythology. White or winter, like the Irish equivalent of Finn McCool, with ap Nudd meaning son of the mist or son of nothing, to which the term nada is linked to this. Finn McCool and his Fenians, or Odin, lord of frenzy within the Germanic and Scandinavian tradition. All of these are connected. They're all very similar. They're all sort of male equivalents of what we're discussing here.
Yes.
But yes, I think you're correct in what you've stated there. That idea that the demons are almost like a negating principle, to take away that which is to remain in this world and to pass on that which is not of this world. So that is exactly, I think, what the Wild Hunt is about. Yeah.
Yes. And the interesting there is that she acts in the entire movie as a manipulative deceiver, because she lies even to him, saying who she is, etc. She comes from a different background than the one she tells him. And she is only interested in bringing out Joker. If Joker is not the one prevailing in the mind, she is not interested in Arthur. Her interest in Arthur goes only as far as a vehicle to manifest the Joker. And I also found very interesting, I don't know if you heard my notes on Joker about the predictive programming.
I've just started, actually.
Yeah, okay. But a part there has to do with the son. Because when she, and I don't think that was a lie, when she says that she's pregnant, and they sing a song that is unrelated to actual Arthur, so I think it links to someone else in that video that will be linked to this one. You'll find out who, because that's about predictive programming, so it's a different matter altogether. They start that song Close to You by the Carpenters, that then later on is complemented by the song Build Me a Mountain, where it is said that once I build something to that effect, once I build this heaven on earth, I will leave a son with the Lord's grace to take over, right? And since she saw that the Joker didn't prevail, that the shadow was integrated, she leaves, but she will have that child. She will have the, if you like, Mordred in the Arthur myth, her being Morrigan or Morgana, right? She will have the son of chaos, because the one that impregnated her was not Arthur, it was the Joker. And this is, I think, key to understand. She will have the shadow child to continue the cycle that she relies upon. Because if the cycle stops, she, as the Phantom Queen, let's say, will no longer exist. So she is sort of taking care of her self-preservation as well, right?
Yeah, it's almost, again, it goes back to that idea that we were discussing with the World Tarot card.
Mm-hmm.
It is the mercurial womb.
Right. Yeah.
Which seeks the combining of, again, the sun and the reflection of the sun's light, which is, of course, the moon. So these are sort of analogies for forces which arc and the arc in operation, and they maintain the existence. They maintain the wheel of existence. They keep it turning. But when she mentioned that I'm pregnant, what I think she meant was, in a deeper sense, this idea of the Fool and the continuation of the Fool that is both the 0 and the 22nd card.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
that, I believe, for example, even in the Splendor Solace, right at the end, you have, which is again similar, it's a sort of alchemical tarot card, the 22nd plate, I believe it is, I can get it up here.
Well, while you look that up, also note that where they copulated and produced the child, and where Arthur and Joker were being held, is in Arkham Asylum.
Yes.
So the Ham is usually a town or a village, right? And it was the village of the Ark. In this case, of a dark ark. So in the sense of, instead of being, a safeguard for, the natural creation, it's a safeguard for the chaotic, unnatural shadows, right? Because everyone that has, a shadow problem goes in there, right? So that's interesting as well. But go on. It was just a side note.
Yes, it's the red sun, and right, the sort of depiction of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we move from the rural areas right in the beginning of, I think it's all the way up to, all the way up to plate 10, right? Or plate 9, and then plate 10 is where we move to the urban areas, and it's where things become more violent. So at plate 10, things become violent. You have the dismembered body with a golden head, obviously implying that the alchemical great work is an extremely violent process. And then you go from plate 10 to plate 11, it's the boiling philosopher, rejuvenated. And then you go into the condensed chemical reactions within the flask, from plate 12 all the way to plate 18, and obviously that ends in the Rubeda. Oh, by the way, yes, the blood at the end that you see at the beginning and at the end of Arthur's blood, that is the Rubeda.
Right.
It's the literal ending of the great work. And you actually see what appears to be, though they're slightly alternative colour, a colour scheme. They probably chose it for artistic reasons, I can imagine, or tonal reasons, as it is to do with cinematography. Arthur has those 4 colours, but we'll get into that later on. But the Rubeda is the final stage. It's the point, essentially, that you see at the plate 22, which is where everything is desolated. It's completely, everything has been putrefied. It has been brought through reactive and rejuvenating processes, and all that is left is the passion, the energy to be discharged once again, right? That's the red, the solar energy. And thus it will reflect off the lunar womb, and then it will, the continuation through new life will begin anew, so on and so forth. I think when she stated she's pregnant, I think that's what she meant. She meant this idea of right at the end, and instead of him getting off the wheel, he would just continue, or something else would take his place. Of course, the fool would just continue through his, 1,000 thrice iterations, an eternality of lives that have been lived in complete ignorance, not understanding his own divinity. I think that's what she meant by that. And as well, she wasn't interested in Arthur. She was only interested in the fool, or the Joker.
Yeah.
So she's like what you're saying, she's only interested in the sustaining of existence. Sophia herself is a liar, right? Or the Maria, the moon, the lunar aspect, the feminine principle.
The fallen Sophia, or in that case Gaia. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. The mother of matter. She is a liar. Maya itself is obviously the illusion. And you see that, she's actually rich. She's not poor. But she said, I only said that so you would like me. So she could, come down to his level.
Yeah.
To provide him an illusion that is of, that he could be like a spinning wheel. He could be woven around like a thread.
She was being the temptress. The temptress needs to use deceit. She, for the entirety of the movie, I think she was being the temptress. And it was very easy to tempt Arthur, who had very limited contact with women. And I'm talking now as a literary device in the movie. And so she saw exactly his weak points and basically exploited them to bring out the Joker. But the interesting thing is that as she did and succeeded in bringing out Joker, she also succeeded in him taking responsibility for Joker, and in him, therefore, sort of performing the alchemy on Joker and integrating him again, which basically caused her to fail, right? So if she hadn't done that, most probably Arthur would have been sentenced to death anyway, and the Joker would have never come out to be integrated, right?
What's also interesting as well is when he goes on. So he mentions that the Joker is nothing, but up to that point, all the guards have been nice to him, and they keep saying, "Tell us a joke, Arthur. Come on, tell us a joke," and they even take him to sing and everything. And it mentions in that as well. We heal through singing, we heal through the logos, through the voice, and. Of course, Sophia's in there, or Harlequin. And to get out of that scenario, she ignites a fire. So, sorry, I'm actually getting ahead of myself. So going back, when he states that the Joker is nothing, the 3 guards beat him, and to essentially a bloody pulp. And they are completely cross with him because at that point he no longer he understands that they are an illusion. He understands that they have no power over him, and we see that when he takes their seats on the bleachers. And when they say, right, go, get off the bleachers, and they ask him 3 times to get off the bleachers, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But they don't enact any violence against him. I think at that point he realizes that it's all it's an illusion. The hierarchy itself is an illusion.
Yeah.
So it shows as well all that they have to keep him in the cage, and you see that quite a lot. For example, when they beat him, no, it's prior to when they beat him, they take him into the cell. It's after, I think, he's just been with Harlequin or met her or kissed her for the first time, and he's feeling quite,
That's
good
when
about
they
himself.
escaped. Yeah, that's when they escaped the movie watching because she
maybe
starts the fire.
Maybe it's just previous to that point then when he just meets her, and they lock him in the room, and all it is the peephole, him lighting a cigarette. Behind is the bars, so you have the 3 sections, again the tripartite essence. Obviously the door itself with the small peephole is the intellect. The fire that he's the cigarette he's smoking is the light which pervades even in the darkness. They turn off all the lights, all you see is the lit cigarette. That's the spirit, and behind him is obviously the bars, that's the body. And even the room itself, the square room, you see that quite a lot within all of those prison scenes. But he understands, I think, in the end that all of that's a lie, and he mentions how badly the guards treat him.
Yeah.
And of course they turn upon him at that point, and beat him, because that's all they know. They can only exact physical pain upon him, but once he's past that point of registering the physical pain, understanding that it is mere illusion, they have nothing else to sort of bind him with. So the hierarchy falls apart. Again, this is why orthodoxy is such a thing in the physical world. Because if everyone came to this idea of Gnosticism, or Gnosis, or, that is a very broad category, I understand.
Yeah. Several types.
Yeah, exactly. The hierarchy would fall apart. You couldn't have society. It would fall apart. People would simply just reject. They would reject authority as we know it. Of course, they would be far more ethical as well. They would understand. They would have a greater degree of empathy, I think. But that's showing, I think, in a microcosmic sense what was going on with Arthur in those scenes.
Yes, as a general rule, the only part of us that requires some sort of sense of hierarchy in the physical manifestation, and when I say hierarchy, is imposed hierarchy, because there's a voluntary natural fitting to things where you can recognize someone as a leader and you follow that individual in a natural state of acceptance, right? But in the sense of imposed hierarchy, the only part that rejects the imposed hierarchy is the shadow, because that is exactly what rejected it, right? Whatever rejects is always some sort of hierarchy. It's the parent to the child. It's the the expert to the pupil. It's the whatever. It's always from a place of hierarchical perceived superiority, even if it isn't, right? But it's something that it's always craved. That acceptance is craved by the shadow, and that is what motivates the deviation, let's say, of that potential into a dark side, if we would call it, like if we would use Star Wars, the Darth Vader, right, from Anakin, that had particularities about him, but he only fell when he finally gave in to becoming the shadow of himself, right? So in this case, Darth Vader. It's the same dance here. It's the same type of blueprint, I would believe, and in Joker. Of course, it is my impression from things that I've picked up here and there that the initial reactions was that, oh, they spoiled the entire franchise. But in this case, and we do see a lot of those instances of these franchises being spoiled, like Star Wars, in remakes and so on. But in this case, the only mistake was that they thought they were going to watch a Batman Joker movie. Right, in this case, focused on the Joker, the building up of Joker. And that was not the case. Joker was a vehicle to present a different kind of message. It wasn't about good and evil and the hero, anti-hero, like it is in the Batman universe in this case, although it uses the same setting.
I have to admit, as a movie, I didn't like this. But I understood the symbolism behind it, but I don't think many people will. It's loaded with symbolism.
I actually quite enjoyed it, man. I'll be honest with you. I enjoyed Joker 1 and enjoyed Joker 2. Call me
really?
Yeah, call me different or whatever, but I actually thought it was artistically done.
Oh no, it's very artistic. It's very symbol. I'm just not very much into musicals.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the songs per se. I mean, I'm not a Lady Gaga fan, and Joaquin Phoenix can't really sing. But what I'm saying is that even the small cinematographic details, it's something that you don't see nowadays used as well as they did. Little details, the way the shot is framed, for example, the lighting, for example, there's a small detail, which is, I mean, it's a detail, but it's so artistic in my view. When when she's visiting him and they are across the glass, and she paints the smile in lipstick over the glass. And then you see the shot, and he smiles, and he approaches, and the smile goes exactly onto the smile that she drew on the lipstick. Those small details, I'm talking about just as a cinema art piece. I didn't find it. I was expecting something more grotesque or whatever. No, I actually enjoyed it, and I did enjoy Joker 1 as well, in that sense, in the mere artistic sense, even if I didn't read anything into it. But if you go into these movies, both Joker 1 and Joker 2, expecting a Batman kind of movie, forget about it. It's nothing like that. So in that sense, yes, it may have spoiled the franchise, but as a movie per se and as an artistic expression, I found it very interesting, and it was even refreshing to see these little artistic nuances applied, because it's not something that you see anymore usually.
Oh no, I will agree. You don't see. I was actually quite. I was quite pleasantly surprised at some of the pieces of. Well, for example, here's another one. Just while we're on this this sort of train of thought. For example, the red lipstick that Harley Quinn wears, and the red mouth, or the red, the grotesque red lips, the crescent of Joker. Those both indicate something very, and something that appeared, by the way, in The Matrix as well, with the Scarlet Woman, if you remember.
Yes.
The Temptress. But that is also another symbol of the Mother of Matter, because again, she's a liar. Yeah. She appears as though she's living. She's the source of vitality, but in fact, she's dead. And what gives it away? The scarlet red lipstick, because that is something you would wear within funerary rites, or something you would put on the mummy within funerary rites in Egypt, ancient Egypt. So that's another little instance there. And of course, as well, you have the Joker's the color, which, by the way, is something we see with the Italian pantomime
Yes.
Harlequins, where they would have, well, firstly they would have Technicolor garments,
Yeah.
which is similar to the sort of rainbow, the refraction of light, the separative element of the intellect or the mind, or in this sense, even the mother of matter, right? How it could be coincide with that force. But he was wearing the white, blue, and red, which also links with ancient Egypt,
And
the
green.
colours of
And
the
green.
crowns, and green as well.
On
Yes,
the
and
hair.
green.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Green in the hair, yes, which is the colour of death, the colour of spiritual unripeness. And of course, with it being on his head, it's the closest to his crown, if you will, the Keter. And it's within the Hindu tradition. Obviously, they would cut their hair to be closer to the divine. With him having sort of green, I guess, semi-luscious hair, locks. Again, it adds that further layer of spiritual unripeness, as the Joker.
Yeah.
But that goes once he becomes obviously Arthur. Yeah, and of course as well, just to mention the folie à deux is quite interesting, because that literally means madness for two.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
it's almost like the Joker and Harley Quinn are both the shadow. He's
No,
both.
they are, and note, one particularity that may have been, undervalued is that, have you noticed how mostly Harley Quinn comes and goes as she likes?
Yes.
Even if we are to consider bribes, I mean, if this is a high security prison or asylum, even a rich guy or woman wouldn't have that ease to bribe the guards all the time and go in and out several times during even during the trial when he's being held in a different prison. So I think that yes, in that sense, she is the leader. She is the queen of the world, right? She is representing the queen of the world, and she becomes, so in that sense, the fallen Sophia, or if you like, Gaia, so the earth mother, let's say. And she becomes disillusioned with Arthur/Joker because the Joker didn't prevail, which is also interesting in the story, because his own earthly mother, his own she wasn't the biological mother, but his only mother his own mother that he murdered, was rejected him and was disillusioned with him, right? So the funny thing is that the cycle repeated with him, but this time he took responsibility. This time he accepted, okay, it's on me. I am the one that did all these things. I am the one that am supposed to do all these things. Because one thing that becomes evident, especially from the first movie, and I think that no one should watch Joker 2 without watching Joker 1 for obvious reasons. It's a continuation. Is that his he fails at really changing anything about him. He thinks he's being genuine. He thinks he's like that and that's it, right? Because of the trauma, the victim, the trauma, etc., right? But he never really tries to change in the sense of, okay, maybe I'm not a clown, maybe this is not my talent, maybe this is not, because he picked up something that his mother said, that he came to the world to be a joy to the world or something like that. And from then on, he decided he would be a a clown, an entertainer, so on.
And that was a lie as
and
well.
that was a lie. And so he picked up on that and held on to it to the last, right? So during all of his life, he preferred to live in a sad lie than, changing. And that would have been, before even the crimes, that would have been taking responsibility, right? In the sense of saying, okay, I'm going to give up trying to be a clown because clearly I'm not funny, I'm not talented. This is not what I was born to do. And I will find something else, right? And I will probably try through that change to change the context around me. So leaving his mother's house and, going off on his own, whatever. But that never happened. It only happened at the very end, after his second mother rejection. So his first mother rejected him. He killed her. His second mother, which is the mother of the world, let's say, rejects him as well. And then he gives in. And then the wall breaks. She explodes the wall. She breaks the same wall that Pink Floyd talked about. And I really suggest that you watch that movie. In fact, I've already sent you over Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, the gematria parts aren't really my field. But the rest is really clearly referenced as a correlation between The Wall by Pink Floyd, mostly Roger Waters, and this movie. And I think that they used The Wall as a template to make this movie. In several shots, it's really, really evident. Thinking back, I think that even in a way, Roger Waters, when he plays, of course, I'm talking about the cartoon version, but also when you see the live show that they did of the same album, that Roger Waters somehow can resemble Arthur, right? In that depiction of Arthur, the way he presents himself. But anyway, so it was after that second rejection that he finally took responsibility. By then, the crimes had been committed, so he had a heavier toll of responsibility than before the crimes, right? So it was harder, and he had to face death.
There's also another scene that's it really struck me, actually. So at the beginning of the movie, mm-hmm. they are seen descending down those stairs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's 8 levels to those stairs, I believe, if I counted correctly. And there is 7 diagonal, or sort of alternating, diagonally alternating lampposts either side. Again, this is the Sephiroth, it's the Shevaret HaKalim, the descent of the spirit from the unconscious, the partially conscious or unconscious realms, which is obviously... So there's 7 of these that we see at the top of the stairs, and then beyond that, obviously, it's immaterial. It's not materially or consciously perceivable. That's obviously the Bina, the Hokmah, and the Keter. And interestingly, so they descend from that together, and they're dancing together. Essentially, the mother of matter in the form of Harley Quinn, and obviously the Fool or the Joker. And also the Harley Quinn also sort of takes on this... It's very much extremely like the type of Sirius or the Dog Star companion. Of course, it's slightly different, but
which is in the Fool card. Yes, well spotted. Yes.
Which is in the Fool card, and obviously we see it within the Hindu mythology of Prince Yudhishthira and Svana, which is obviously the Hindu or Sanskrit version of Sirius. So it's that same idea when he is traversing or travelling to heaven. I believe he starts off with 4 companions, and they all eventually leave him, and that's obviously symbolising the square right? The
And
box.
and Joker is
also the World
carried.
Tarot card.
He's carried from the E ward to the B ward by 4 guards.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
Yes. And the umbrellas then turn into colors. Then they're black again, which was an interesting detail I picked up as well. And since we're talking about tarot, and before I forget, the Moon card has a black and white dog, doesn't it? Or am I mistaken?
No, it does. It's in a triangle. I've done a breakdown of that actually.
Let me see. Moon, Rider, Waite. Let me just pull it up here.
It's the triangle, so it's the Canis Major and Canis Minor. So I believe, and then obviously you have the not the Capricorn. God.
The Scorpio, yeah. It's
Scorpio, yeah.
Which is the lobster, but
The lobster, yeah.
It wasn't black and white. It was golden and silver, or tried to be silver, perhaps. But it could represent the black and white checkered losangle shirt that she wears in the end, right? So she's the moon in that sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
and
links back again to that video that I want you to watch, but
I
will
watch it.
Yeah.
And you notice those squares, the black and white checkered sort of ensemble that she wears.
Mm-hmm.
They are all turned. Do you notice they're not facing perfectly? They're all turned on their side. Again, this is similar to what we see in the World Tarot card.
Oh, they are?
But but it's also something you find within Aleister Crowley's ideas of LVX and NOX. So that's what those two motions, so the square that's perfectly, projected or positioned rather, and then you've got it obliquely flipped on its side, like what in a diamond shape. Those put together create the 8-rayed star. The center of that is obviously within the Nivadikpala of Hinduism is Shiva. That is the thing which maintains all of it, destruction. And what that really means, those two squares, the one that's perfectly positioned and imperfectly positioned, is it is essentially the paradox, the mutually complementary paradox, which maintains the motion. And it's obviously as well, the oblique angle of the diamond also sort of in a two-dimensional way insinuates the motion. It conveys that motion. That rotundity of yeah, exactly, that. You can see it's flipped. So there's also something as well, I'll send you the... Oh yeah, and so that's the beginning, but right at the end, and you notice as well, he's holding up his hands in the sort of the Shem or the Trishula, the sort of Poseidon shape, the Y shape, or the W shape rather. That also links with, it can be pictographically known as destruction in Hebrew, the Shin letter. It's the 21st letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's the penultimate letter before the Tav. It is the name of the Lord. So it's similar to the B word and E word. Now within ordinal value, E is the 5th. That is man. So he goes from the realm of man to the realm of the B, which is 2. So it's the realm almost just, the closest to, I guess, the Keter, right? The A. And obviously the B is the Bina as well. That also is what it indicates. That links with Sophia, links with the feminine principle, the moon. So you've got all of this. But right at the end, he breaks out of the courtroom. He gets out of the car and runs to her. She is at, I believe it's the 6th lamp post. She's on the 6th level.
I wasn't able to count.
That's obviously a depiction of the world. That's symbolising the world of the 6. 6 as well is also the descent of the coil. If you descend the coil, it creates 6s. If you ascend it, it creates 9s. right? So in that sense, what we see is him. Well, he tells her, he says, "I can't live without you," and she says, "Well, you're not the Joker anymore."
Exactly.
So, and then what happens? 5 police cars arrive. So
away,
they take him back to E-Ward, the 5th. They take him back to the world of man, without this this connection to the mother of matter, right? Because he's nothing. He's descended into, I guess, madness, a form of spiritual violence, spiritual renewal or
no,
unification.
but by then, but by then, I think that the madness is gone. That's the whole point. When he accepts the integration and the responsibility, the madness is gone. He has to go through the responsibility of it.
But to the rest of the world, he appears mad.
Yeah.
So, and we even see that because the judge states, "I don't want you turning this courtroom into a circus."
A comedy club,
A comedy club, or So essentially, the judge has integrated, the shadow has shadow of the judge is the judge, if that makes sense.
Yes.
He isn't the person. It's like if you ask someone, "Who am I?" They'll give you, well, I asked my father, he gave me his name, and then he gave me what
his
he
profession.
does. Yeah, his profession. So he is his shadow, right?
Yes.
But of course, that's just an automatic instinctual response. That's something I would have stated before even looking into this, right?
Yes. Before his shadow, he is his mental character. I would just correct it like that, because the shadow is already rejected, and the judge, well, we don't know if he has been rejected or not, so he is the character. But yeah, go on. Yeah, it's correct.
Absolutely. So we see within the courtroom when I think it's still Joker, or it might have been Arthur Fleck. He's talking to the jury, and he states, "Knock, knock. I've got a joke for you. Knock, knock. Who's there?" Arthur Fleck, who? And then the scene just stops.
Yeah.
So right away he's asking, "Who am I?"
Yes.
So to all of these individuals who the mental characters or the shadows have become them, and they're fully integrated, thus there's no perceivable chemical reaction in an alchemical or state. They're not attempting to transmute the base essence into the higher essence, if you will. So there's no frenzied nature of it. They're simply just sort of inert beings that are within existence. So to everyone else, he appears mad, but it is actually them who lack the sanity.
Yes. Yeah.
They lack the sanity to face who they truly are.
And they rejected him, so they created him as he is. So they brought up the Joker out of Arthur. Arthur was created by the world that kept bullying him and all that. Of course, again, I will state, he did not take his own responsibility, so he insisted on a course that wasn't his course, right? But nonetheless, it was the world that performed the bullying, right? And just another aspect before you continue, sorry, that I just remembered.
No.
He killed, so one of his main crimes, and the most visible crime, was the one he performed on live TV, which was killing Murray Franklin, which is the MF, the male and female. He killed the male and female. He killed the duality.
Yes, the Murray Franklin,
right? So that was the big crime.
Brilliant.
He said that he had it coming, right? He got what he deserved, or something like that. So in this sense, and when we go back, of course, I will recommend that people watch that other conversation that we recorded about the AI, where we talk about the presented gay manifesto, which is about killing the male-female, but it's a template, a blueprint for all the rejected. All the rejected follow that same blueprint, and we could replace the words, the references to homosexuality with whatever other aspect, and it would fit. But go on, sorry, I was just at...
Yeah, absolutely. Another interesting thing as well is that if we assume that MF is actually the male and female, and I would posit it is, that's actually brilliant. But Arthur Fleck, I'm pretty sure Fleck in Germanic means spot or mark, a bit like like a flecka, like it's the type of
I can look it up.
type of camouflage or something that they wear. So yeah, I think it means spot. And of course Arthur, I think, is bear. I know that from
yes,
the
it's a mark
Arthurian
or
legend.
a spot, a small bit or a flake. A mark, a spot, a small bit or flake. Also a lock as of wool.
Right, interesting.
This is the dictionary definition.
Interesting. So in that sense, I wonder if it links with Ursa Major in some sort of
Ursa
way.
Major is Arcturus, right? Arthur.
Arcturus, yes,
absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
Arcturus
I think that's
fleck.
that isn't the harvester, is it? Is that something to do with
I'm not an expert. I wish Gubstar was here to enlighten us, but let me see.
Yeah, no, neither am I. When it gets to Ursa Major and such, I haven't really looked into the mythologies surrounding those constellations. So I know Ursa Major is an asterism, where it contains multiple asterisms, like the Plough, other sort of sub-constellations. Not properly, they're defined, but they're not properly categorized as constellations as such. But you have the likes of the Plough, and there's a few other ones as well. There's also a constellation called Butez, and it's an absolutely terrible name for a constellation, especially spoken by a Scotsman. But I believe that is something to do with the harvest as well. And I think Arcturus is associated with that too.
Bootes. Yeah.
Bootes, yes.
Yeah. Alpha Bootes. Yeah.
Yeah, you say it much. I'll just let you say it.
Bootes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the harvester. I'm not picking up any reference to that. But, if Cubstar is listening to this, Cubstar is the star expert over at IPS. If he listens to this, please leave a comment and clarify this for us regarding what Silas said. We're not experts in this field by any chance, so you are. Help us out.
The A and the F as well, that is also the 1 and the 6. I believe, is it? Yes, it is. The F is the 6th letter of the it is the 6th letter of the alphabet. So 1 and 6, that obviously creates 7. That's interesting as well. That almost, that's the number of the demiurge whenever you find him, be it the sort of Lord of the Earth character, be it Enki, Poseidon, which obviously became the Lord of the Sea later on, but his Attic root, the root of his name, which is a compound of 2 Attic words, Attic Greek words, means Lord of the Earth. You also have it with the various Elagabalus as well, who his deity, I believe it was Elagabal, yes, Baal within the sort of solar deification of it, or aspect, the solar aspect of Baal, that was also associated with 7. It's always the chariot. The charioteer will be the 7th point of the 6 steeds that he controls via the reins. It was the same with the centre of Atlantis and the supposed Temple of Poseidon there, or Temple to the Lord of the Earth, who was the 7th point controlling the 6 steeds. It's the same notion, so that's why 7 is associated with the demiurge. Of course, it appears in the menorah.
It just occurred to me that the progression of the character, and see if this makes any sense to you, the progression of the Arthur Fleck Joker sort of duality that goes on inside him follows the progression of the world card, like you said. So it wasn't just Harley Quinn. because he begins at the bear, so he's Arcturus, Arthur, right? Then he becomes the eagle, the scorpion, goes into the underworld. Then he becomes the lion, so he assumes that he's this wonderful,
Yes.
glorious personality, and he ends up being the sacrificial bull,
Yes.
right? The
Yes.
sacrificial, not lamb in this case, but the bull of ancient times that would
Brilliant.
be sacrificed.
Yeah.
Right?
The Apis
The heifer,
bull or something.
the heifer.
Yeah.
Is it called a heifer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The heifer. Yeah.
Heifer, yeah. So that could be related as well, no?
And this is also linked to the solar, the traversal of the sun
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
through. Again, it goes through its underworld too. Again, this is all appears within the Splendor Solis.
Oh.
You see the Negredo of the sun, the darkness of the sun. I believe that's the 19th. I think it is the 19th plate, and then obviously the 22nd plate is the red sun. Again, that's the sun coming up above the horizon. It's resurrected, reborn. This is the Horus. Again, this is a sort of macrocosmic, celestial motion which has been used as a microcosmic analogy for the spiritual reunification or renewal of man. Yeah, so absolutely, it would totally link with that. Interestingly as well, in Metropolis 1920, that silent film from 1927, which somewhat, it mirrors what appears here. You have the same Maria. You have the mechanistic Maria, and you have the Maria that's, the sort of feminine one, the one who is, I guess, not in her Kali aspect or her horrid or terroristic aspect, but within the aspect of the dawn, the morning, the gentle light of a new day. And you see the same thing within the EU and some of the Tower of Babel propaganda that appeared with that. You had the 11 or the 12 stars, but the way that they were arranged is they were arranged in that diamond shape. So it's the same thing as the World Tarot card.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's like what you've just stated there. It literally is the quadrant,
Well, the diamond could be the circle, and each of the triangles outside of the diamond would be the corners of the card. So the diamond could become a circle, or vice versa, right? So,
and each of them can be divided into right-angle triangles,
right?
And in that sense, it creates, and also in a symbolic sense, of course, the Pythagorean theorem, it creates this thesis, antithesis, synthesis. So the synthesis is within the World Tarot card. It is if I can find the World Tarot card, it is the animals. It's the animals themselves, which of course are just merely animalistic expressions of this solar traversal. But interestingly, did you notice on the stairs? But it doesn't. You can't really see it at night. It only appears in the morning when they're descending. You see right on one of the steps that Arthur steps upon. I think it's just below the top riser. On one of the levels, I think it's the first level. It says "freedom to all the animals."
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
no, I didn't notice that. That evaded me. Oh, interesting.
So that also links with the World Tarot card, and at the beginning.
If she's Morrigan, that makes even more sense, because Morrigan was linked with the animal world. Yeah, go on.
Yes, absolutely. I believe she was also a shapeshifter, if I recall.
Yes.
So, again, it's the same idea. This shapeshifting, it's sort of multi-layered in its meaning. It means that, again, like what you stated, it's the traversal, the transmutation of the solar light, which is sacrificed into the world as, similar to what George Bataille stated, right? the solar light was sacrificed into the world. It was reflected from the lunar womb, and
from the prism, like in the Pink
the
Floyd
prism.
Dark Side of the Moon. Yes,
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's what created the fractality, the separate forms. And everything has to be separate for perception to delineate it. And so, but just before we get ahead of ourselves, right at the beginning, you saw when he was going from E word to B word, so he was going from the world of man, the 5, to B word. And of course, there's three of a difference between those, right? Again, that's symbolic.
He's going
of
from
the Trinity.
5 to 2. Yeah.
5 to 2, exactly.
And he says, the guard says, you see how the other half lives, which is interesting. Yes,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You see how the other half lives, absolutely. I forgot that, actually. Yeah. Brilliant. But when he's being moved along the sort of square funnel, the rectangular funnel, the caged funnel, the guards are out, so it's raining. He doesn't have an umbrella. He's in the middle of the 4 guards. Again, what we saw in Sintra, remember?
Yes.
So we saw it with the orbs, I believe. So you have the 4 guards with the 4 distinct colours. Each of them, by the way, are both male and female. So you have the orange, yellow...
Orange, red, blue,
Orange,
yellow.
red, sorry. Yeah, orange, red. What was it?
I can even tell you because I took a note. Hang on just a second. I'll tell you the exact order. So from top left, opening up here. Yeah, top left orange, top right red,
right,
lower left blue, lower right yellow in the shot. But if we consider if we want to consider front or back of him in relation to him, it would be in front of him to his left, it would be red. In front of him to his right, it would be yellow. Behind him to his left would be orange, and behind him to his right is blue. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so the blue is used differently here to Western esotericism. So the blue corresponds with the Yama, the sacrificial bull. It's also Chesed. But remember, in the material world, everything is a lie, so it's all inverted. Chesed is kindness, but in this world, it's inverted. Because, again, it's all perception. We perceive it, Chesed on the right, that which is severe on the left, Bina.
But wouldn't that inversion be related to him leaving hell?
Bingo. Yes.
Yeah. So
he's now viewing it from God, from God's or the first principles perspective.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You just made the point, and I didn't even have to clarify it. Brilliant. So, in that sense, the blue is the way it's the way some Kabbalists see it. I mean, some Kabbalists see it just as we've just stated it there, very generally. But in the deeper sense, once you get into the Zohar, blue is actually it denotes misfortune. It is a symbol of almost akin to like seeing a black cat. And I think that's a sort of higher Kabbalistic teaching, because it's that same idea that everything in this world is inverted. So if you see blue, that's bad. If you see red, like what you see with the red sun at the end of the Splendor Solace, or like what we've just saw with the way you've discussed it. Again, the red would be attributed to man in that sense, or Aquarius. That would be the spring. That would be the fire, which can immolate, but it can also comfort, it can also provide life, vitality. In that sense, the fire is the ego. And you also see that, by the way, when they kiss.
Right.
The fire on the right side, which, by the way, this is another sort of denotion that Arthur is to be sacrificed, if you will, or he's going to sacrifice the Joker or some essence of himself or something. He is wearing a blue jumpsuit, I believe. Is he not? I think he is. When he's getting moved. But he is the center of the world. He is being born into the world at that point. Let me look it up.
Let me see if I get a picture of that scene. So, Joker 2, scene, Arthur.
But yeah, he, just to say really quickly, he is he is in the womb. He's just being born into the world at that point. That's what you're seeing. It's the sort of birth canal when the 4 guards are taking him through into B ward. So yeah. I think that's what it's denoting there. But yeah, he essentially, it begins in the spring, then it moves obviously to
I can't
to
find
the summer.
a picture of that scene, but I sincerely I do not remember what he was wearing. I mean, I just watched it once, but I do not remember. I may have
I think it was blue. But anyway, when she kisses him, there's fire at the other side. So again, it's it's the passion, which is all associated with red. The energy being dispersed, being discharged. We see that with, for example, red being the lowest vibrational status, the most the ultra opposite of ultraviolet, if you will. So infrared, that's the word I'm looking for. So in that sense, it's denoting this Gnostic narrative through colour. But interestingly, there's a light behind them, and it almost creates that sort of black sun effect. You see that throughout the movie, and again, that's similar to The Source, right? Where I think they're attempting to create the physical rebus, the physical copy of that which exists within the Brahma, the ultimate reality, which is what this world is, a shadow of that world, right? An imperfect shadow. So you see the same thing where you have the Keter, or the radiant light, that exists at the edge of the pure blackness, right? But you don't obviously see pure blackness because it's the physical copy of this black sun. You still see form because you're in the physical, material, existential world. So you also have all of those ideas as well linked to it. Sorry, I've probably went on a massive tangent and rant there.
No. I'm still looking to see if I could find what he was wearing. I'm browsing images, but I don't think
Just stop me because I go on massive tangents.
No, please go on. I was just seeing if I could clarify that while we're recording this. Otherwise, it will have to be after.
Oh yes, this is it here. If I can show you this is the Splendor Solace. This is the point of the black sun, or the Negredo of the sun. I think that's what it's actually called. So you have 19, 20, 21, 22. 3 stages till you get to the red sun, or the spring.
What is this card, sorry?
So this is in the Splendor Solace. This is a very famous alchemical manuscript. And essentially there's 22 of these plates. You've probably seen this. You have to
put a link to this for me and for the listeners.
Yes, I will. You're probably familiar with this for the great work.
Oh, this one, yeah.
Yes, okay. That comes from that text.
Oh, all right.
It was written by, I believe it's a pseudonym actually, Salomon Trismonian. He was the supposed tutor or teacher of Paracelsus, which you're probably familiar with. He's a very famous alchemist.
Yes, I've seen this before. Yes, of course. Yes. Yes, I'll post, if you send me a link of all the plates, I'll post it here.
And you notice there's 4 colours as well there. So again, it begins on the 19th plate. Begins with Negredo, then it goes 20 to the Albedo, or white, 21 to Citrinitas, or the yellow, and obviously to the red sun or rubedo, that's the 22nd. So again, the quadrant, it's the same idea. Yes, but interestingly, you see when they kiss, that is literally recreating that black sun, that Negredo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is the point where Arthur builds himself up, then he falls, you know.
Is there only one version of this? Because I remember this differently. Maybe it's a Mandela effect.
I think there's several, actually. It's a very famous image. Yeah, there is actually several. You're right. I think, pardon me, there's been recreations of this.
I remember these plates differently, but I can't pinpoint the source.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, post a link of the ones you have.
I will, yeah.
And I will put it on the on the post. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we haven't covered. You'll notice on those plates as well, you notice all the animals around the sides. Those are all symbols, so that you see the peacock. That appears within Crowley's work, but is obviously Crowley is just merely sort of copying and regurgitating this.
I'm not sure I saw this version.
Of the Great War.
There are other versions?
There are other versions. I think there's one with just the man sitting on, obviously, the two fountains. One with the... Again, is this? Do you notice the two fountains?
Yes. Mm-hmm,
it's the same with E ward and B ward.
Of course.
So B ward would obviously be the silver, the lunar, and it gets passed through, putrefied, sent into the swamp water. So you have the spirit, or the involuted spirit, passed through the mind, and then out into the body, into the carnal world. And obviously the man himself is contained in both. He is his head is the third point, obviously, with the crown, and 7. It actually should be 8. You're just not seeing the last one. And then the 9th point is obviously the Shiva, Nivadikpala. Yeah, and you'll notice as well the stars are alternating. The golden solar energy, the silver lunar energy. 4 and 4, the same idea. 4 and 4, the quadrants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the center one is obviously the 3. You'll notice that center point is 3. There's 3 points, like a trishula almost, of, again, Shiva, destruction, negation. So even to enlighten oneself, you have to go through the negation to then gain integration. Again, that's what the peacock means. The da'at, the flash of colours, the contraction back to the white light of the source. Exactly, but it's exactly what all of this means. From a sort of alchemical standpoint. And you have the owls as well, the finches. Finches are a symbol of Aphrodite. Again, Sophia.
Yes.
Same idea. And so are the owls. The owls are the source of, the wisdom aspect of her, which would be the sort of male aspect, or the Hokmah. Yeah. So yeah. Sorry, man. I'll let you jump in.
No, fine. I'm just looking. I think I saw a different version. I don't know where. But these are familiar, but not exactly like this. Maybe I'm having a memory glitch. But not exactly like this. But of course I did. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Well, I'll post this the link to these plates, of course, and even for reference. Yeah, we'll start at 1, and then people can move. Yeah, yeah, man. Brilliant stuff. I think I don't know if there's anything else that was left out, but I think that
I'm
we've
just checking my notes just in case.
covered more or less. Let's see if my
I
notes
think we
as
have,
well.
yeah. I might actually do a separate video. Do you remember as soon as I got out the cinema, I sent
Yes,
you
yes, yes, yes.
like I was just trying to get down like everything I was thinking at that point. I'm like, I'm gonna forget this, those moments of inspiration. So I'll probably do that in another video, in just a separate video, an addendum to this, because it's quite lengthy. I don't think I could cover it, and it'd probably take quite some time.
Yes, and just another connection, which is referenced in my other video of the predictive programming, just on a slight tangent, because that is covered in the other video. The connection between the Arthur Fleck Joker character with Trump, because of the for example, when they were filming the court scene and you had the crowd outside, Trump was being just across the street being tried.
Oh, yes.
And there was that news report, as if it was by chance. Of course, it was staged that way. With people wondering if the crowd was there for Trump. No, they were there for the Joker, as they were filming the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And also when she sings this is just two examples. When she sings "Close to You" by the Carpenters. The chorus goes that on the day that you were born, the angels got together and decided to create a dream come true.
Yes.
They sprinkled stardust in your hair of gold. So hair of gold, Joaquin Phoenix doesn't have it, but Trump does. And sprinkled stardust, is it, in your eyes of blue?
Yes, in your eyes
Trump.
of blue.
Yes. And that is, in my view, another correlation in terms of predictive programming. So we're talking merely media narrative here of those two characters. So I think that yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't want to keep you any much longer.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So that also links with Finn McCool.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm just looking through what I've mentioned on the Blue Eyes. I think I mention it somewhere.
And while you look that up, just another note. There was those series of rituals done by Jack Parsons and company called the Babylon Working, that ended in the blood moon when Trump was born.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and I believe it was...
And so the chorus saying, the angels got together and decided to create a dream come true, right? So they did the Babylon Working that decided to create. I think this is, of course, a narrative indication that the ritual was... the result of the ritual was Donald Trump, that will become associated with the Joker, in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely. And also as well, remember that that this idea of a dream come true, the angels got together to create a dream come true.
Mm-hmm.
It's this idea of the fallen nature, or the fallen angels, if you will, if you sort of subscribe to the notion of Shamyaza, or again another attestation of Lucifer, or of course becoming Satan within his shadow aspect, that they created a dream of a shadow, as Pindar stated, a Greek philosopher, that life is a dream of a shadow. Again, a copy of something that's is greater than it. But of course, Sackless, or Yaldabaoth, the demiurge, it seeks order, but the only way it can craft that order, craft that temporary peace, that temporality, is through chaos, right? But I was going to mention as well, that also links to the Wild Hunt, that idea of the golden hair, the blue eyes. So this is from The Road is That Journey to Gnosis, or literally truth, the acquisition of self-knowledge and the shattering of the illusions of everything, of Angus. Yeah, So Angus is akin to the rest of the widow's sons. This is the Gaelic or Celtic Angus, or those who are like Horus, or the exoteric sun that reflects the light of the black star. I think he's also called Mac Enog, son of the young. Again, it's similar to that idea of the red sun, as we were just mentioning there.
Right.
The spring, the youth. The Y principle is also linked with that, the fork in the road. He's the son of... Oh, God, hold on, I'm trying to scan this really quickly. He's essentially, it's the Scottish or Gaelic version of Osiris and Isis, essentially. So he is the synthesis of that, the synthesis of the spring. And they pierced his side like Angus, and out came blood and water. So again, like Jesus, that's what happened to Angus. Blood being the Adamic source of death that masquerades as life, exoteric son, and the water represents the faux aqua vitae, or again, is the Sophian lie, if you will. Quote, then Angus mounted, oh, and by the way, this is very similar to the Celtic Isis. Very similar. Quote, then Angus mounted his white steed and rode eastward. He was clad in raiment of shining gold. Again, eastward, this is this Masonic idea.
Yeah.
And from his shoulders hung his royal robe of crimson, which the wind uplifted and spread out in gleaming splendour athwart the sky, again, like the Fool, like the World Tarot card as well. The crimson, like the red sun. Moving from the west of Aries eastwards to Capricorn, or spiritually light, or the spiritual light to be rekindled in the darkness of winter. A Scottish bard composed the following song about Angus. Angus hath come, the young, the fair, the blue-eyed god with golden hair, the god who to the world doth bring this morn the promise of the spring, unquote. So it's the same idea.
What does Angus mean in the original? Does it have a meaning?
Yeah, the etymology, it does actually, and I mentioned this. Yes, here we go. Angus is also associated with the Wild Hunt, though not directly involved in it. He is connected to Dawn, literally the Dark One. Oh no, sorry. Where is it? I definitely have an etymology of it, but I'll just check it. Yes, Angus is thought to mean one choice or one strength. So literally the one. It can also mean Mackinock, the young boy or the young son. Literally Angus, or from Owen, the one, the single, the singular. Literally the one, the I, the ego. You know, it's the same idea.
Wouldn't that be similar to the Norse Balder? Because
exactly.
because Balder was killed by the blind god that was deceived by Loki, right? So Loki, do you know the story of Balder?
Yes,
Balder's death? Yeah. That, just for the listeners, Loki was jealous of Balder, and he tricked the blind god, whose name now evades me, to shoot an arrow in a certain direction. And only an arrow made of holly tree wood could kill Balder. And he gave an arrow to the blind god. The blind god shot in the direction that Loki tricked him to shoot, and basically hit Balder and killed him.
Oh, I was going to mention the blind god is Húðr.
Húðr, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Húðr.
Yeah.
I think it literally means like slaughter or war.
Mm-hmm.
I think Balder, within that context, so that later Norse context, it means the shining or shining one.
Yes.
But I think if memory serves me correctly, because I've written something on this in my notes regarding Ragnarok, or the Twilight of the Gods, the Götterdämmerung. I think it derives from Baldraz, which is like a hero, or a sort of heroic noble or something like that. It can mean. So it's the same idea as Angus,
Yes, it seems related for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, man. So, very interesting conversation. I think we've explored quite a few unusual avenues regarding not only Joker 2 but also Joker 1. I will post also the links to that Moon video that I suggested, and to the Splendor Solus that you sent, so that for reference for everyone, to follow what we were talking about. And I hope that you also watch that Moon video, and understand the correlation between Joker movies and the Another Brick, not Another Brick in the Wall, the album The Wall by Pink Floyd, which seems I was I missed that, but this video really shows it. Of course, there are a lot of geometry connections there that it's not my field, right? But the rest of the connections are, to me, undoubtable. And it does link to the Moon, it does link to the Wall, it does link to everything that we see depicted in Arthur Fleck and Joker. Yes. So, very interesting, man. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Yeah?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah. And, well, I understand the movie to a far greater extent now talking about you and sort of parsing all of these elements of it, yeah. I hope the audience does as well.
Yeah, well, if not, then untangle your minds, or, loosen the spaghetti. And
if you listen to this podcast or watch this video prior to watching Joker 2, it might actually appear to be a very good movie.
Well, like I told you, I enjoyed it, man. Maybe it's I don't know, but I enjoyed it. Of course, it's not my favorite movie of all time by any stretch, but I think it was actually artistically well done in comparison to what's been coming out of late in recent years. At least in terms of with as an A movie, right? A movie that is presented in in this way. I was actually well impressed, artistically impressed. I enjoyed it. I didn't feel bored or anything like that.
But you're in the minority. It's because you're a philosopher extraordinaire.
Yeah, probably. I was immediately picking up on. Well, I was taking notes as I was watching the movie as well.
Oh, really?
So,
right.
Yes,
right. Yeah.
Because I went there.
Your mind was engaged.
Yeah. I went there with a mission to. Originally, was to. Because I went to watch one day before it came out in the U.S. So the idea was to provide notes one day before about predictive programming to the people at the IPS. But I ended up enjoying the movie. I ended up enjoying the movie artistically. And I also had enjoyed Joker 1 as well. So.
Yeah, I did. I very much liked Joker 1.
Yeah.
I liked Joker 1, yeah.
Okay, man. I will take care of this, and it will probably be posted later today. You already have the file of the previous conversation about the AI, so if you want to post that as well.
I'll post that today as well, yeah.
And thanks everyone for listening. I hope this added to the previous video about the Joker 2 notes that I had posted with Tim Osman. And I'll catch you next time. Thank you, Silas.